Hey, welcome back everybody. Welcome back to my channel, Amuse Jester. My name is Junior. We are looking into Mattel's Prince Adam and Cringer cartoon collection. I've been waiting for this one very eagerly, so I'm glad to have it in hand. Definitely captures what it's like with Prince Adam and Cringer as we saw them in the cartoons. So I really love this. And then the back, what an amazing artwork. And I kind of wish it didn't have the squeeze, and I would actually be tempted to frame something like this. um I guess I'll figure out something. This is really good. So that in mind, let's go ahead and open it up and see what's going on. I really love the joints on these cartoon collection. They're stiff to hold the pose and just loose enough. And I've said before, these guys feel so sturdy in your hands. This is the only thing that might be a little bit disappointing, is that he can't really look up too much. But of course, and oh, that's kind of nice that the shirt rubber overlay is just soft enough so that it doesn't hinder the articulation too much. But so that's what I was referring to, that the head doesn't look up as much as it possible as it could be. I'm very familiar with how he's usually posed, so in the just to capture that pose, like this one, so kind of like this, I suppose. Always, this is always like that. Yeah. Here's the Cringer face. I thought it was gonna be articulated because, oh, it is articulated. That's funny. The only thing is, like this, he kind of looks like his jaw is too protruding out. But what an interesting idea to have an articulated jaw. That's kind of unsightly with the hinge in there. That's okay. Here's the second one. I'm gonna display Adam with this head, and then I'm gonna steal this head again for another He-Man. Maybe. And the Cringer, let's look at this guy's articulation. Start off the head. very nice range. Oops, pops off. Not too worried. It's cheap enough, and I know it's strong enough and sturdy. The neck can go back like that, but oh, there you go. Forward more like so. Nice. Obviously, you should be able to twist. It does. And movement on the side. Let's see. Does it have a lot of movement on the side? It does. So you can get enough range in there. And for this, yep, goes outside, twists around. I don't think you can actually twist all the way around, but that's good enough. This one's a little stiff. Now it's a little bit looser. And there's the twist over there. The paws does move very well, and does have an ankle twist. This one goes up to that much, and then that much, and this one can rotate completely, can straighten by that much. That's pretty cool. Rotation there, rotation there, ankle with another twist. Really nice. The joints again feel very nice and firm. Then finally the tail, go up to that much. Can he stand? He can. He can stand on his own and put his arms around Adam. They can go on a dance. On the side it would look like that. That's pretty cool. I'm bringing in the head that came with the He-Man. As you can see, the skin is a little bit darker in the He-Man, a little bit lighter on Adam, just a little bit. If you guys want to see laughing He-Man, but of course the skin coloration is different, so you might want to do a wash if you want to do a laughing He-Man. That's kind of an interesting idea though, and I'm really tempted to get a second set. I really am. I don't think we've ever gotten a Prince Adam on the Masterverse line yet, but even though I know that this Cringer is for the cartoon collection, do you guys think he could actually go for the Masterverse collection? That's about where he would sit with a He-Man. This, let's see. This is how he looks like with the Masterverse. See, I'm like, I love the size of Cringer. Much better than the original one that came with Queen Marlena. But that's almost too big. Cringer with Adam, right? I don't know. But this one, okay, definitely too short to be a battle cat. Yeah, well, I looked it up. I guess this scale does fit the cartoon collection, but we'll have to see once we receive a Prince Adam in the Masterverse and see if we can maybe borrow this Cringer. Can he do a sleeping? pose. I mean, I guess you can kind of force these two hands together, but it's just not gonna cross at the right angle. Plus, he doesn't have his eyes closed, but yeah, man, what a he definitely eclipses the Prince Adam figure. We have so many Prince Adam figures, but this is the first time where we've really gotten a really good Cringer figure. What, 50 bucks? 50 bucks for a Cringer and a Prince Adam accessory? I'm gonna say it's good because the value of the nostalgia and the being the first toy in this line to be produced of Cringer, then yeah, I would. I mean, like I said, I might actually be tempted to get a second one of those. So, very good toy. So now I want to look into the cartoon collection Hasbro, the Skeletor ship. Again, kind of nice artwork. It's kind of ruined by the corrugation of the cardboard. Maybe somebody scanned it and then we can just print it out. It's very colorful, but it does. I can't really display. Oh, look at that, She-Ra. Swift Wind, anybody? We already have this. Oh, yeah, we have this one, so that's cool. And that. Alright, let's go ahead and open him up. Her up. Okay, so I've kind of adjusted my camera angle. This is just too big. Really much bigger than I anticipated. I've installed the fins over here. And there's the piece over there. Let me just twist it over here. There's a side profile. There's the back. There's actually some thrusters details that's going on over here. And this window actually impresses me. It's not just a clear window or clear colored window. It's actually got some sort of reflection going on, as you can see my finger in there. So there's some sort of film or treatment that they did here, so it's making it more reflective. So that's kind of nice. The details are very soft. But again, for a what's this, $40 item for something this big, and it's just I don't know how else to convey how surprised I am at how big this is for the price. Just to kind of show you how big it is, here's a G.I. Joe Cobra Ferret. This is $30 because, you know, with the figures 25, so this is kind of $30, this is $40. That's how big it is. Okay. We'll go back to that in terms of value comparison later on. But even though it's very soft in detail, I really don't mind that. This is the cartoon collection, so having softer details, having less details actually fit within the idea of what I have. The the size is good. The silhouette of it is good. If you know what I'm talking about, just the general look of it. Even though this is also soft in detail, it fits the design of the vehicle. This extend, and it has this. I was afraid this might actually be soft plastic. I don't know why I was thinking that, but it's not. It's actually pretty sturdy. And also, now that we have this out here, now this is also transparent yellow plastic. As you can see, there's a difference between these two, where this is just regular transparent plastic, and what I meant by this thing having some sort of reflective coating, you can see the difference, right? It's not just because they use different colors, it's just something different about how this thing is done. That's actually, it's kind of makes it more premium than this, you know. And then you can have that, and it also includes the blast effect. So if you want to do that, you can have blast effects with it firing across. That's cool. If you can put something here. Alright, so let's go ahead and open her up. Usually what I'll do is I'll put my finger out in here. As you can probably see my finger peeking into this window over here, and then I just wedge it, and then it opens. It's got a nice catch to it, and it's actually could be hard to open up. So there's the detail of the interior. When I say detail, as much detail as you can probably see. There's not a lot, but it's enough that they could have just as easily have made it just like flat, like the flooring, and yet they didn't. Now these over here, these things, I thought maybe initially they were there to show where the feet were, to make sure it doesn't slide completely. But I think actually, let me just show you. So Skeletor, we have Skeletor over here. He's just gonna sit just like that. See, if you, let me twist him a little bit. So the back side also has those, as you can see. And with Skeletor, it kind of works. It's basically using that to stop his feet, but as also, you'll probably see his feet is going to start touching the back of the seats. And that's actually what I think is stopping it. And he sits pretty good. The lean of the figure, as restricted by the articulation of the figure anyway, as you can see, you can't have him like completely like this, right, on a 90-degree angle, the body relative to the legs. You can't have it. It's just articulation just won't allow it. So the lean is attributed to that, and on top of that is the lean on the seats as well. So let me put Merman over here and show you. As you saw, a Skeletor just like slid right in perfectly, right? And notice the spacing between the top of his back to the top of the chair. So that's what I'm going to try to emulate with Merman. Now Merman, if we were going to use the stopper for the feet, he's going to sit way too high, and you'll notice also that he tends to, seems like he's not connecting, his butt's not connecting to the chair, the bottom of the chair. So what I've seen happen is if I were to have his feet resting against the console, then you emulate the distance with Skeletor's back to the same thing with Merman. You don't see it because his head is in the way. So let's decapitate him temporarily. And as you can see now, the distance is similar to what Skeletor is doing, so which means that the lean and the position of the body is the same thing. Now, of course, as you can see, it's loose. I mean, like if you flip it over, this thing's gonna fall over, but I mean, like, come on. So maybe could have used a strap as a seat belt, but these are villains, so they don't need seat belts. And for Trap Jaw, I'm gonna designate as the driver because he doesn't drink, or he's not been drinking. And now you can clamp it, but there's a distance over here in the back. You can, but this actually is in a ball joint, which is pretty cool. So now do that. Look at that. Now he's leaning back, just everybody else, and all that stuff. So yeah, that's. And now in the cartoons, this is supposed to be a relatively big ship, like capable of transporting more than 15 or 20 people, honestly. But this is basically just a forward cockpit. Obviously you can't have that, otherwise you'd have a 5-foot long vehicle, right? But as a play vehicle for $40, I think this is just perfect. I think the outside gives you the play factor of having a ship for your diorama. Open it up, put in your figures in. This basically simulates the cockpit, and you're done, right? I mean, what else could you want for? If you want detail, you want size, then you're going to be spending not just $300, maybe $3,000. So, which would be ridiculous at this point. This is the cartoon collection, so I think having that simplified, cartoonish feeling, toy feeling is kind of perfect for what it is. I want to show you the back or the roof of the ship where you have these details going on over here. That's actually not molded. As you can see, this part right here, the triangle part, that's from the mold, which is what I mean is like this part, right? But you see here it's smooth, right? So this is just extra detail that they put on just for the sake of putting detail on. And this is basically the back of the fins being put in, which actually kind of adds to the detail. It's pretty cool, or that's the way I think about it. So yeah, very basic design, but what a fun vehicle to have. And if you're more playful, more imaginative, you don't need to stop using this by playing with your Origins collection, right? If you want, if you're the kind of person that you might want to do a diorama, you can also use this with your Mega Constructs. I know, different material, different design, you'll have these holes and everything, but from the distance, this actually kind of works scale wise, right? This is that's not Sky Slide. What is this thing called? I can't remember. I think this size scale of the vehicle compared to this one obviously makes this much more massive in comparison to that one. And then of course the size of these guys, if you look at some of the cartoons, you'll see Skeletor or some of the villains getting out of this, and this is almost what they look like scale wise relative to the ship. Of course you can't really use this if you open up the cockpit because it's too small, unless you modify the cockpit to make it seem like there's like the cockpit is just right here, and then you have other compartments. Like for example, what I would do if I were to customize this, I would remove the seats and then create a smaller cockpit that's just right here that would seat these guys in. Then you can see them through the window like this, right? Look at that. That's almost perfect. And then you would have various compartments over here and all that stuff to accommodate more villains or whatever it's going to be supposed to be in the ship. So yeah, definitely a lot of play value if you have the imagination, and if you're willing to sacrifice, oh, this doesn't really fit it because this is Motu cartoon collection, that's Mega Constructs, completely different. But when you have the diorama piece, if you do that, you can actually put this with your Castle Grayskull Origins with your Eternia playset with your Snake Mountain, basically representing a massive ship in that diorama. You guys have seen my, if you guys have seen my review of the playset of the Eternia, that's what I'm planning on doing with the Mega Constructs. That's why I started buying a bunch of them, because I wanted this huge diorama environmental scene with Eternia playset, with Castle Grayskull, with the Snake Mountain, and have these Mega Constructs figures and vehicles fighting a battle scene. That's what I ultimately want to do as a representation of what an Eternia battle scene is. Now, I've bought Origins figures. Actually, I think I have all of them, but I'm using them on my Masterverse. I have the Origins of that ship that I showed you. I have the shark. I have the Sky Sled, and luckily they've allowed placing Masterverse in there. This won't. This is just way too small. This is not gonna fit a Masterverse, and if you were to make it a two-seater, one in the front and one in the back, but I think I'm happy with this one. Actually, I think I'm not even gonna put these figures over here, because I think this is gonna work more as a display piece. So actually, when I bought this, I was actually thinking maybe this works more on my second idea, where I put it in with my play sets and my Mega Constructs. I'm not gonna modify it. It's just the look of this thing is just too awesome. Just like this, it's awesome already. So now, the other thing too is, in some reviews, like Pixel Dan reviews, they were mentioning that this could have used a stand, and there is a slot here for stands, and it does work. I have a few stands in there. I only have a loose one, but this thing is so big and so massive that I think the reason why they didn't include it, because there's only one hole here. If they had written two, maybe. It's just a little unstable. You can make it work. It's just a little unstable. It's just better to, you can kind of make your own, I suppose, or something, because it's just way too big. Or maybe what you can even do is, if you're gonna hang this in a ceiling, or maybe what you can do is, if you're gonna hang this in a ceiling, like grab a string, tie a piece of stick, a small stick in it, put it here, close it up, boom. Basically the lid is gonna hold that stick in with the string out, and then just hang it on your ceiling. Now let's do a value comparison, right? I love this already for what it is. For the price point, unbelievable. For the scale, unbelievable. This is what I was referring to with Hasbro's G.I. Joe. I don't need massive, complex, detailed vehicles. What I need is vehicles to put my figures in. And the price point, without increasing the price point to what Hasbro G.I. Joe is right now. So what I'm referring to is the ferret, right? Removing the value of the figure of $25, the ferret becomes $30. This is $40, and yet look at the size comparison. So the reason why I do this is, how do you sacrifice price so that you can get larger vehicles on a franchise such as Motu, more so than in the Hasbro G.I. Joe line? G.I. Joe is known for its vehicles. You can't have G.I. Joe without vehicles. That's what made it so much more popular, or one of the reasons why it made it so much popular, right? But the thing is, and I agree with people, when they go bigger, there's just so much material construction in there and the details that, yes, the price point gets pushed out higher. But I think what they could also do is create a less detailed vehicle like this, construct bigger vehicles for a lesser price point. Because this, when I reviewed this, I also said this is worth the money. $30 for something like this. Why? There's a lot of detail in this. Even though the paint is minimal, it works effectively for this vehicle. The stickers, the logos, the design over here, it's very, very minimal. It's almost bare plastic, right? But it works. It even has this on the tire. Now the other thing too is like this vehicle is very detailed. You even have the steel grating floor over here. The seats are have a texture on them. This rotates, all that stuff. It's got a suspension, which is unbelievable, but I don't know if it's really necessary. Could have been no suspension in that one. You know, this is $30. Okay, it's good. The value is slightly above price, I think, but it's still above because I still enjoyed this one. But it's just that it's not gonna allow me to get multiples of them. You know, I only have two because that's already $100, 50 or over $100 to get just two of this. But I would have wanted maybe 4 or 5. But there's no way I'm gonna pay $55 for the whole set and get 5 of them. That's a lot of money. That's $250, right? But this, I can easily get 2 or 3, maybe 4 of this, and it would be just so massive, right? So I feel like if Hasbro were to do 2 types of vehicles, a $30 more detailed price, or so let's say this is let's say this was $55. It is $55 because of the figure, right? So let's say you were to do a second offering with the figure with a lower detailed vehicle, no suspension, maybe no suspension. The racks are already built in. I don't know what they can do to cost cut this, but definitely lower the price down to $40. I think 45 would have been a nicer, easier thing to accept, but $40 for something like this would have been much better. So that would mean $25 for the figure, or $20 for the figure and $20 for the vehicle without the suspension, something to cost cut just to bring it down. The other thing too that I mentioned, that now some of you might say, well, it's kind of unfair for you to be comparing the G.I. Joe Hasbro to the Mattel Skeletor ship, but it's not really fair because, or it's not really unfair because as a collector going across multiple lines, you can't help but compare the prices, what you're getting for the item and all that stuff. So I think it's a fair comparison, because they're kind of in the same category of toys. It's not like I'm comparing this to Hot Toys, you know what I mean? So it's a fair comparison. It's not like, oh, this is a bad toy because there's not a lot of detail. This is a bad toy because it's more expensive. It's just a comparison between lines, between companies, hoping that they would offer something else. It's never going to happen, obviously, but I think certain things they didn't need to. But I mean, you know, so here's another comparison that's more closer to the size of this thing. Now just keep an open mind, because like I said, it's not supposed to be like a them versus them category, right? So there's the vamp. Now this is comparable in size. It's going to use something to stop this one moving. Comparable in size, but look at how much detail you're getting from the vamp compared to Skeletor's ship. Now again, $40. This is, let's say, $75, right? Because this was $99 with the figure's $25. So let's say this vehicle is $75. But look at how much detail you're getting from Hasbro. There's a lot of stuff in there. If you see these two on the shelves, you would think, well, I don't know, my eyes is kind of drawn towards the vamp because there's so much stuff going in there. That's why I said at $75, this is not a bad price. At $40, this is also not a bad price. you know, but there's a lot that was sacrificed to bring down that cost. And that's what I mean. Maybe they can do a different variation of the vamp where it doesn't have suspension, it doesn't have rubber tires, like the way GI Joe figures or GI Joe vehicles were back then, where it's just almost, I don't know, like almost 60% hollow. And there was, okay, one thing that I would compare to is, look at Transformers. Transformers has different classes. You have the Voyager class, you have the Legacy class, and then you have the smaller, the Legends class that has ball joints that are ugly as hell, and some of the, and then even within the same lines of the Voyager class, you would have waffles. Here's a good sample. Sandstorm, right? This is, I can't remember what the price, but it doesn't really, it's not the price that I'm talking about. Detailed in every way. I think this was going for like $50, but I can't remember. One of the complaints that people had was this, the legs. Look at how awful that legs is. It's just basically waffles. And then some of them, earlier versions, instead of having this complete cover, it will just be like hollow inside. That's what I mean by sacrificing some of the detail in order to lower down the cost. Because I'm telling you, if this had been covered up, it would add another $10 to the price. Like, this is $40. It's not a $40 or $50. It's not a $50 figure, even though it's a triple changer. It's not. It's just so small. But I think, like in some Transformers, this that are the same scale, this would be empty, hollow. This is hollow. And then some people would be going to third-party kits to plug that in, and those kits are like $25. It just added $25 to your 40. If this was, let's say, $35 without those coverings, it just added $25. Much more expensive than this figure itself. So going back to GI Joe Hasbro, if they had the, let's say, let's call this the deluxe vehicle, where it's $75, and then you have the, I don't know, cheap, let's call it the cheap version, where you would have less detail, a lot of hollowness, and you would have the kind of detail that this has. This has basically, this review has just basically tangented off, that's not a real word, of what the original review is. And you just have this basic hollowness compared to what's going on inside here, compared to the playability, opening up the and then I think the, yeah, anyway, the more playability factor in this one, but the price is lower, right? That's all I'm saying. Maybe they could do some, that's what I was hoping for. Even with the His Tank, we purchased the His Tank for like $350. Please Hasbro, I only have one of those. Is it possible you can make a His Tank with just the shell with non-moving threads for $100? I don't know, just something without the lights, you know, and just have the shell of the His Tank so you can have multiples of them on display for cheaper, you know. That's what I'm just saying. That's why the value, now we're going back to this one, that's why the value of this one is high, because it's such a low price. You've got the presence, you've got enough playability factor to make it kind of fun. It fits within the collection. This is really, the value in this one has a higher distance from the base price than this one. Let's say, what I mean by that is, let's put the base price at 50%, right? $40 at 50%, 75, 50%. That's the level. Well, the value in this one I would put maybe at 75, so it has that gap. While the value in this one would be 50, and then maybe 60, 65. So the value is still higher than the price, but it's still worth it to get this one. This one's definitely much more worth it. That's what I mean by that. So that's it for my review of Skeletor ship. Thank you for watching. I hope it kind of makes sense, my ranting, my rambling, but what can you do? That's I'm looking at it, I'm feeling it, and that's what I wanted to talk about. So, and that's all it is. I hope to see you guys soon on the next review. Bye.